Hello, and welcome to this installment of the Kennedy Center's Arts Across America series, Reflect the Times, with American Composers Forum. My name is Damian Strange, and along with being a composer, I'm the Director of Communications at ACF, where our mission is to cultivate an ecosystem where living music creators and their music are vibrant and integral to human culture. I'm so very honored to have been invited to host this offering featuring two amazing performers, Jannina Norpoth and Amanda Gookin. In a few minutes, you'll be treated to works by some of today's most exciting composers, followed by a discussion about Jannina's and Amanda's practices that has led them to prioritize representation and social consciousness in their programming, commissioning, and performing. But before we get to all of that, let's meet our performer, Jannina.
Hi, I'm Jannina Norpoth. I am a violinist and musical experimental weirdo. I'm to you today here from Brooklyn, New York, and I also play in Public Quartet, which is an improvising string quartet.
Hi everybody, I'm Amanda Gookin. I play the cello. I'm here today to play a few pieces from my project, Forward Music Project, which focuses on storytelling and feminine empowerment. And the pieces I'll be representing today are one of the first 7 commissions that I commissioned back in 2016 when the project just got started. So thank you so much for joining us.
Great, great. And now we'll check in with Jesse Montgomery's piece, Jannina's first piece, Rhapsody Number One.
That's right, and we're actually going to say goodbye to Amanda, and she'll be
Yeah.
back with us in just a little bit. Um, so uh, this is a piece that's really close to my heart. And the other day when I texted Jessie and asked her for program notes, she sent me this video that actually reminded me that this piece had been premiered at a concert that I played. She wrote it for a joint performance with Public Quartet, of which she was a founding member, and I joined shortly after and filled her shoes, I hope. And anyway, I remember now vividly that, we were leading up to it. She was like, I'm going to write a solo violin piece, and we were texting about it. And it came about only in the 11th hour did it materialize. I think she finished like late into the night before
Wow.
the concert. And she performed it the next day. And I remember first hearing it, it was just a visceral response. Like, I just have to play that. So, and so
Great,
I did. So I
great.
learned it.
And this was written in 2014, I believe, and it premiered also in 2014.
It did.
Uh,
It did.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I learned it shortly after that and performed it for the first time. Um, she was really inspired. Jessie is a violinist, and she was, as all violinists are, as we're in our formative years. There's really two main bodies of works for solo violin, or big pillars in the repertoire: the Bach six solo sonatas and the Eugene Izai six solo sonatas. And so she was particularly inspired by Eugene Izai's sonatas, and I think her intent actually is also to write 6 of these rhapsodies.
Wow.
This is the first one. She's written a second one, which I think Michi Wianko is is premiering. She recorded, and it comes out next month. And so anyway, in true kind of rhapsodic style, it lives up to its name and its character, which is wild and improvisatory
Great.
and a lot of fun.
Well, let's get to some fun. Let's hear Rhapsody Number One by Jesse Montgomery, um, performed by Jannina Norpoth.
The beautiful sounds of jackhammering. Tis the benefits of recording from home.
Wow. It's simply beautiful. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for that. Um, yeah,
Thank you to Jesse, I think.
yeah, that. Um, so we certainly can look forward to an extension of these pieces, um, and and how does it feel um, for you to be able to perform a piece by someone that you're very connected to, also another woman of color? Um, how does that feel for you?
um, I I feel it always feels pretty amazing, at least in my experience, to play the music of friends, um, because you have that connection to them, and there's always little things in the piece that remind you of them and kind of make you smile and guide your learning. Um,
Mm,
Jesse's also just a force of a person, and she's had such an impact in my life, um, and really pushing me to be a much more creative musician. I think she's responsible for me being in public quartet, and public quartet has really allowed me to find my true voice as a musician,
mm,
um, become fluid in improvisation, and have these supportive, amazing people that I can experiment in front of, and push me, constantly are pushing me and inspiring me, with their own brilliance and creativity. So there's that, and then Jesse's also pushed me to write on my
yep,
own, and we've done a number of projects together now. Um, the latest of which was Scott Joplin's opera Treemonisha, which is
mm,
unfortunately did not premiere because of COVID,
right,
but we did a new orchestration of that for a 9-piece chamber ensemble, and it was an all black. It was an all black cast. We were going to have an all black female orchestra on stage,
wow,
and the whole production team was women of color. So it was a pretty powerful place, in those workshops, to be in that room, um,
yeah,
and to realize how rare it is, and
mm,
and to take in that there's nothing there's nothing different or lacking,
yep,
about being in a room full of artists of color, other than you're that much more aware of how many opportunities um, the people in that room deserve. So,
yeah, that's
yeah.
excellent.
Jesse.
So that Jesse, and this next piece is actually also a personal piece.
It is.
You, in a sense, commissioned this next piece, and I was very fortunate to hear its premiere. I guess it was back in February in Detroit at the Detroit Institute of Arts. So this piece by Jonathan Bailey Holland, journal entry.
Yep.
Um, Want to tell us a little bit about how this piece came to be?
Yeah, so every year, the Sphinx organization has their yearly gathering. They have an amazing competition that's been going on for a long time for Black and Latinx string players, and they've expanded it into a conference now for everybody. But it's a conference on diversity in the arts, and
Mm,
I really wanted. I was really inspired by being there, um, and one thing I found, um, I sort of didn't think that the new music community was being represented there as well as it could be. So
mm,
I went back to Sphinx and I asked them, what can we do about this? Can I be proactive and spearheading something? And so I went to them with a lot of ideas, and they were super
mm,
receptive. Um, and so I ended up having a a panel discussion with actually Jesse, Karen Cueva from Carnegie Hall, and Garrett McQueen
mm,
from
mm,
Trilogy Podcast and also American Composers Forum, and Gabriel Cabezas, who's
mm,
a fabulous cellist. And we had an open forum discussion that was part of the pre-conference sessions. It was a 2-hour thing, and it was really great. we had a lot of room for people to really speak their voices to each other too, which doesn't always get solved when you have a panel and just an audience. So,
Right.
and then the other thing I was able to put together, which wasn't officially part of Sphinx, but Sphinx supported it, was a concert at the Detroit Institute of Arts, just so everything coincided with Black History Month. So I wanted to do a program of all Black composers anyway, but it worked out nicely that uh, the museum was able to host us for that. And I put together this program called Transitive Vision, and it took all of these pieces that um, where someone is writing that just different interpretations of sight and
Mm-hmm.
vision, foresight, self sight, sort of internal vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I used it as a conduit to really showcase very different composers. Because that's sort of the stereotype I think, I've heard from
Yeah.
many larger organizations. I don't know where the composers of color are.
Right.
And, the more research you do, the more you know that's bullshit. And there's just so many amazing creative composers. So on that program was Alvin Singleton, was Ryan Onginens, was Jesse Montgomery, and I really wanted, being from Detroit and the competition being in Detroit, and we were doing this at the museum, I wanted to feature a composer who was from Michigan. So enter Jonathan, who offered to write something specifically for that. So here is this piece, journal entry that he wrote, which um, he wrote it really more on self-reflection, the
Mm-hmm.
self-reflection end of things. He was going through a period of loss,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe he wrote it for a friend that he lost, and this was kind of where he poured himself into that. So it's actually very relevant for me. I came back to it kind of naturally in the past few months, just dealing with loss myself.
Right.
I lost an amazing friend and mentor to COVID. His name was Lloyd Porter, and he was the first person I met when I moved to Bedford Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and he was just an absolute pillar of the community here. Him and his wife. He welcomed both me and my husband. He owned businesses here. He created spaces, safe spaces for people to be integrated, to enjoy amazing food, and to
Mm-hmm.
share art. So I'm definitely missing him a lot
Yeah.
through the last few months, especially. I think those people that like just brought people together and were so warm and amazing. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
people we miss the most, especially during this trying kind of a time. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think of Lloyd every time I play this piece now.
Great. Well, let's hear Jonathan Bailey Holland's journal entry as ode to self-reflection. All right, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, um, and we should be coming back to the music pretty soon. Um, and let's see, looks like Jannina's back. Um, but this program to me is just so exciting. Having growing up in DC, visiting the Kennedy Center often as a child. It was very much a part of my childhood. Um, but never seeing programming like this. Um, uh, and so I'm very excited that we get to present a program um, that is just packed full of composers of color and um, and women composers as well. Uh, and I think what we might do is um, jump in with another performance and come back to Jannina. Um, and so we're going to have Amanda uh, join us soon, and she's got three pieces lined up for us as well. And we'll just talk a little bit about that first piece um, that you're going to perform, which I believe is "Stolen" by
Yes.
Alison Lockins Hall.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Um, well, today everybody will hear some audio recording of the composers talking about the piece themselves. So instead of maybe sharing the meaning behind the piece, I'll just talk very briefly about what I love about the music and
yeah.
about Allison, who is a really dear friend of mine. And what I love about the piece is that it really explores the majorly rich tones of the cello. And she incorporated this strumming technique in the middle of the piece that I had to actually really figure out the coordination of, and
Hmm.
so every time I get a new piece, it challenges me in all new ways. And you'll see some of these pieces have foot percussion and electronics, singing, and so I think this is one of the most really cello-centric
Hmm.
pieces. It's just rich, and Allison is an amazing composer, and it's really been wonderful to watch over the last 4 years, since this piece is already 4 years old, how her career has developed, how her voice as a composer has developed. Um, so maybe I'll just jump in and I'll play
Yeah.
her program now and get to it. All
Yeah.
right, thank you
Let's
so
hear.
much.
Yeah. It's "Stolen" by Alison Loggins Hall.
Stolen is a sonatine of 3 short movements exploring the journey of a young girl who is sold into marriage. The first movement represents her stolen youth and the lamentation of saying goodbye to childhood. She is reflective of playtime, family memories, and former dreams. While she is remembering pleasantries, she is also recognizing they are things of the past. The second movement explores the anxiety and sense of urgency felt about being forced into womanhood. She is full of complex feelings ranging from fear, unpreparedness, resentment, and sadness. She also knows she has to bravely and quickly become an adult, and sooner than later, a young parent. The third movement is her reluctant acceptance of and submission to an undesired life. She has assumed her new role, but is deeply yearning for the childhood she barely had and to have ownership of herself. Despite this, she must tend to her adult responsibilities as a matter of life or death. Today, 1/3 of girls in the developing world are married before the age of 18, and 1 in 9 are married before the age of 15.
Man, that was powerful. Yeah, beautifully narrative. Um, Amazing piece. Uh,
Thanks.
I I I noticed that she has often written um, for with in combination with electronics as well, and I know that
Hmm.
you enjoy playing those types of works too. Have you played other pieces written?
By Allison?
Yeah.
Um, I I don't believe so,
Okay.
actually. I think this is the only piece I've I've read a couple of pieces of hers before.
Mm,
Um, and actually, when I asked Allison, I commissioned both Allison and Natalie Joachim, and together they make Flutronics. And I
great.
asked them if they wanted to write together or separately, and they chose to write separately. And Allison actually made the conscious decision of writing a piece without electronics. I
Okay.
think I can't speak exactly to what her the intention was there, but I think she really wanted to explore writing a solo cello work and writing more solo works away from electronics. So
Right. Right. Well, it was wonderful to listen to
thank
and
you.
very
Yeah.
descriptive. And the next piece that you're going to play is by Angelica Negron, um, La Desaparecidas. Um, and tell us a little bit about this piece and how this came to being.
So this is another one of the first 7 pieces I commissioned for Forward Music Project, and actually all of these pieces are also they were just released in July on my first solo album. And so it's so beautiful being able to sit with these works for such a long time and performing them all these different capacities. And Angelica writes a lot of pieces. She's an electronics music
Hmm.
uh, amazing electronics music performer and composer, and and she wrote this piece from a personal place, even though and you'll hear in her note the meaning behind the music isn't exactly directed or a part of her intimate life. But she's a Puerto Rican composer, and she's writing about machismo, gender directed violence. And so
Hmm.
this is something that she feels personally, but she sort of dedicated this piece to the disappeared girls from Juarez, Mexico. And she wrote me. There's some in addition to electronics, some percussion. So I
Oh
have to
yeah.
put these chachas around my ankles, which I'll
Right.
do right now. Uh, it's a noisy. There's no good way of doing it without making noise. And then a desk bell that I have to play with my left foot. So there's all
Wow.
sorts of really beautiful, creative things that she's incorporated in here. And so, yeah, I just love it.
Great. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear Angelica Negron La Desaparecida.
All right.
Las Desaparecidas is inspired by young girls abducted and used for human trafficking, more specifically the case of the disappeared girls from Juarez in Mexico. Through processed vocal samples, found sounds, and restless rhythms, the piece focuses on the loss of innocence and the exhaustion of survival instincts, as well as the role of machismo and sexism in gender directed violence. This is for the too many to count young women who never returned home.
Wow, thank you. Again,
Thank
um,
you.
it's this beautiful complexity and tension in that piece and the dialogue between the cello and the electronics. But,
Yeah.
really, really fascinating.
I love the way she interweaves the cello sounds into the electronic sounds.
Yeah,
And none of the electronic sounds were actually cello samples, but
right.
somehow she made the cello. She found all sorts of sounds in the cello and in the percussion that just blend into the track. It's so cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Love
Love
you,
it.
Angelica.
Great. So you have one more piece um, by Layla Adu Gilmore. Entitled Edna. I love the concept behind this piece. I grew up in a really strong matriarchy in my family, and this is about the strength of women. So I was very attracted to that. You want to say a little bit more before you get started?
Yes. Yeah, it's this piece is one of my favorites and I wanted to close the set with this because it's a love song, really, for Edna. It's an incantation for all of us to take a moment um, to breathe, to call on the ancestors for
Mm,
help, um, to pay homage to the feminine lineages in all of our bloodlines. And also, Edna is an amazing scholar, activist. The majority of, she's Haitian American, the majority of her work is on anti-colonialist work,
mhm,
anti-colonialist teaching, education, and I met her 4 years ago through Layla. So this project for me goes so deep because I get to meet all these incredible women, learn all of these incredible stories, and
mm,
then it's such an honor to be able to share them because some of, Layla wrote this for Edna, so I don't know what it's like to be Edna or in Edna's body. I don't know what it's like to live as a Black American, and she wrote this piece as like a cradle song for her.
mm.
And every time I play it, I think about Edna, I think about Layla, how strong, and powerful, inspiring they are. And it's just, it's, I'm so lucky, so blessed to be able to share this music with audiences all over the world, um, and sing this song for all women and femme empowerment.
Great.
So
Um,
yeah.
well, let's hear it. Edna by Layla Adu Gilmore.
Okay, thank you.
For Edna. When Amanda Gookin said that she'd like me to participate in her Women's Social Justice Forward music project, I wanted to write a piece that encapsulated the strength of women. At first I was going to write something physically and orally demanding, hard. Then I realised that our strength is perseverance and endurance, adaptability and openness and connection to others. I wrote this thinking about women loving their man who's come home from war, women who've lost their children, women who have been beaten by men, the system, or both, and who still have the strength to love. I dedicate this piece to my friend, activist and scholar Edna Bonhomme, because in the struggle of being a black woman from a working class family, she perseveres to be one of the most loyal, hard-working, inspirational, and devoted people I've ever met. With her Haitian background and American upbringing, she's continued to keep her heart open and share her intellect with me, including around issues of colonialism, black struggle, police brutality, the prison justice system, and her tangible fears for her own family. A few years ago, on my 12-12-12 birthday, Edna gave me a copy of Frantz Fanon's Wretched of the Earth, and she wrote this dedication in the front page. Continue to recover the voices of other and the marginalised and show that their music is important too. Thank you, Edna and Amanda, for being part of the creative inspiration of this piece.
Once again, quite beautiful.
Thank
I love this idea of love song and lullaby. Quite often, um, Black women in particular are asked to carry such a heavy burden
you. Yes.
without the sort of the rest that they truly deserve, and so I certainly feel that in this piece.
Yeah. Um, Layla and Edna are really great friends, and it's just you're right that we need more love songs. We need more rest. Um, and Black women need the other side, as you said, shoulder so much of the burden of change and have been on the forefront of change in all movements for centuries, and so this is just such a lovely way to say thank you, and we love you, and I love Layla and Edna.
Well, you can tell through the through the playing of the piece, you can feel that love for sure.
Yes, yeah.
Um, so I have some exciting news. Jannina is back,
Yay!
and so we're gonna have her join us again, and she's gonna begin with the Jonathan Bailey Holland piece, journal entry, which we spoke about before, and then quickly followed by a piece by Daniel Bernard Remain. Um, and this piece is from 2001 called Filter. And the piece was inspired by Hendrix, one of my personal favorites, and electronic dance music, which I know, being from Detroit, the Detroit area, Janina is all about, or at least has a
Absolutely.
connection to it. So we'll jump in, and Janina will begin with journal entry, followed quickly by Filter by Daniel Bernard Remain, CBR. That was straight fire. That's amazing. Wow. Um,
Yay!
yeah.
It was so
So
terrifying when all the technology didn't work. The camera went, and then all the sound went. So I was just like, please,
it,
just
it, it,
survive.
you just got too much power for it. That's all it is. if there was a if there's a that was some true shredding, for sure. And I know that Daniel's here, and I know he
Hi,
uh,
Daniel.
so thanks for joining us. And also, he wanted to mention that there's a little bit of Prince and Paganini in there too, as
For
inspiration for this piece.
sure. For
So
sure there is.
um, amazing,
I
amazing.
mean, I think Daniel's music in general is really just a love letter to black music
Mhm.
and American black music. I mean, he's Haitian, but I mean, his music encompasses. It encompasses the blues, it encompasses rock and roll, it encompasses
Yeah,
electronic dance music and and native Haitian folk songs. So hip
yeah,
hop, which is
it's all in it.
I love his
Yeah,
music and it's absolutely a joy to play. It's fun.
amazing.
I have
Thank
fun.
you. It looked fun. Exhausting, but fun. Uh, so I think we're going to bring Amanda back,
Yes.
and close out. I know we're a little bit over the hour, and we have so much that we can talk about, and the fact that this is really about extending and creating opportunities for composers the, that don't usually get programmed, and representing cultures that sometimes get excluded, so the pieces that were on this program are a great example of the amazing compositions that are available out there. And so I want to thank you both for bringing those to the program. Um, maybe quickly, if you want to say a little bit about representation, and I think that they might be telling us We have to log off soon, but that importance to you, maybe if you both would like to have a short statement on why it is important to have that representation in the canon.
Jannina, would you like to go first? Awesome concert, by the way. It was so cool. Sound great.
Likewise, I was so moved, and I was like, God, I didn't want to have to play after you. Like
Yeah.
it's just everything just makes me highly emotional,
No,
which is the point.
Yeah.
But it's really extremely moving and really beautiful played. So, and thank you for stepping in and saving me in my moment of panic.
that's what we do. Women supporting women.
Women supporting women.
There you go.
There's so many ways to answer this question, but ultimately for me, I see myself as I'm putting programs together, and I was raised in a household full of jazz. I'm biracial. My dad is black. He's a composer and jazz guitarist, Spencer Bearfield in Detroit. And I was lucky enough to be raised in around incredible musicians, but a very different genre. Not really actually so different, but what seemed to be a very different genre than what I ended up pursuing a career in. And those genres are very racially also divided, and there's a lot of I experienced, being someone who both gets white privilege, but also is mistaken for all sorts of things, or people assume many things about who I am and what my background is. I've sort of been in many awkward situations. Either would people open their mouths and don't realize what my background is, or they find out, or people kind of reveal themselves in different ways. And to me, there was this double standard of the way jazz was perceived in classical music, and I think that was my earliest kind of divide that I knew, and also just the canon that we study is all white composers, even though many composers, women and people of color exist, and we need to integrate them into the canon, and I'm doing that, and I know so many other people are, and I think there's going to be a revolution of those people who champion those works. But I think I'm getting off topic. I think my biggest point here is when you open up yourself, and when classical music in itself, I think, has become very homogenized, and many people have asked the question, what can we do to expand our audience to make things more relevant? And I think a natural answer is to bring in performers and composers and music that represents more people, because you'll have more of an audience. But the other answer to that question is that as a performer, it's so important to play music that you want to be an advocate for. Because when you do that, you make the case for the future of that music. And so if that is performing underrepresented composers, if that's performing living composers and premiering the piece for the first time, you're the advocate. You make the case. You're the lawyer, you're the prosecutor, whatever, and the audience is the jury, and so, you convince them of that. And that's essentially what I'm doing. But I'm also so fascinated in composers like Daniel, who are integrating different kinds of music into their classical writing. And that might not be just Daniel, that's William Grant Still, and that's Scott Joplin, and many Black composers who are groundbreaking and incredibly innovative, and the way they integrated these, sounds of America into classical music and into the classical space.
Excellent.
Beautifully said, Jannina. I agree wholeheartedly. Jannina and I played in public quartet together for like 6 or 7 years, so a lot of our ideals have crossed over, and I know that my time with them and learning from Jannina, I've learned so much, and I know that we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to come at this my answer from a little bit more of just the personal, or just from a place of imagining my life, my musical life, up until, I don't know, I mean, well into my adulthood, and how much music I missed out on, how many people I didn't know. And it's a real shame. And it's a real shame that a lot of that education I had to do myself. Some of it I was so lucky to be introduced to by other colleagues that I performed with. But, I wish that I had known about the opportunity to commission and perform new music my whole life. I wish I knew all of the women who wrote music and all of the Black composers historically. I didn't know about Chevalier Saint Georges until, I don't know, maybe within the last 5 or 6 years. And that's just because I also belong to a community that strives to educate ourselves as best as we can. And that I'm so lucky to learn from people who are willing to share their knowledge. And so representation for me is just imagine, all producers, presenters, programmers out there, teachers, imagine all of the stories that you're missing out on, and all of the history that is being ignored. And we are, as human beings who have well-developed frontal lobes, we have the capacity to create art. We have the capacity to believe in God, if that's your thing. We have the capacity to defy logic, create math and buildings and all of these things, and yet we are refusing the capacity to invite in all the people that walk on this earth into our programming. And so I see some change happening, but with Forward Music Project, the main reason I started it was to learn stories and share stories.
Yeah.
And I don't want to miss out on another one ever again. So.
Well, so I'd say that this is a great beginning, if it is the beginning of that revolution that you were talking about, Jannina. Both your Forward Music Project, Amanda, and the programming that you do, Jannina, I think are a part of that. And like you, I hope to see many more. I know ACF also is in this fight, really, to increase that representation. And I think we're on our way. And I do believe that, again, that the more people hear the music. I worked in philanthropy for a long time, and they were always talk about the lack of representation in philanthropy being a pipeline issue. And I think that's not the issue. Like we have all this talent, and we just need to create space for it. And you've done that. You've done that here today. Um, so I want to thank you both again for that.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
also thinking about who creates that pipeline rhetoric in the first place, right?
Yep.
So the gatekeepers, so to
Mhm.
speak. So, wow. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Jannina. So awesome with technical difficulties, and you came in like on fire.
Yep.
I was literally about to cry.
Yeah.
Everything, when everything goes fine, and every dress rehearsal you have, we've been on like Zoom calls with my parents every night, making sure everything works, and of course in the moment. But what are you
Technology.
gonna do? You improvise.
Right.
So
Yeah,
there
we
you
did
go.
it. We
We
did
did it.
it. Excellent.
Well,
Um,
thank you both. It's
yeah.
really been a pleasure, and thank you to the Kennedy Center for hosting us today, and to American Composers Foundation as well.
All right. Well,
Mhm.
I think we'll sign off at this moment. I can't wait unless you want to promote anything quick that you have coming up. And that's always a good opportunity.
Oh,
Um,
well, my album just came out, so that's available. You can hear all of these pieces that I played today on that, plus others.
Mhm.
yep. And Public Quartet will be part of the lineup for the Banff International String Quartet Festival on September 3rd. So look out for that.
Great. Great. Well, thank you again. Thank you to the Kennedy Center, and we'll see you out there in the music universe.